Today I decided to give you guys a top 10 list of my favorite video game movies. This is not necessarily movies about video games, such as Tron or Wreck-It Ralph, but movies based on specific video games. The video game movie genre has been a pretty rough genre since its inception all the way back in 93, but in more recent years they've gotten some better ones, and there were a few decent ones along the way back in the 90s and early 2000s as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 10 would have to be Hitman. Released in 2007 and starring Timothy Olyphant, it's basically a loose adaptation of the Hitman games up to that point, which there were four when this film was released. It doesn't really follow any specific game, but it does take elements from the games. It's not a great movie, but there are things about it that I do like. I think aesthetically it looks like the game, which is pretty cool. And there are a couple of decent action sequences, but it really is playing very fast and loose with the plot of the games, and it's a loose adaptation at best. Oliphant, I don't think is a great choice for 47, but he's much better than the guy they got in the reboot. All in all, an entertaining, if not somewhat watered down adaptation of the games, and a decent video game film overall. Coming in at number 9 would have to be 1994's Street Fighter. Now, this is not really a good film, but it is very entertaining. Really goofy characters, a nonsensical script, a great performance from Raul Julia, who plays M. Bison in the movie. And he was even sadly dying of cancer when making this film, but he wanted to leave something for his kids to watch, and he made a damn good movie that they can enjoy. A funny, if not corny and cheesy action film of the 90s, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and one that I rather enjoy. Not as good as the games, but a fun adaptation. Coming in at number 8 would have to be the original Resident Evil, starring Milla Jovovich. Released in 2002, this was the first adaptation of the video games. It would be followed by 5 sequels, as well as a reboot. While the series has its ups and downs, the first one really is the best, and it used to not be my favorite of the series, but in more recent years it's actually risen to the top of that list. I do have my problems with the movie, but I think that it's a fun adaptation of the original game with different characters. And unlike some of the other movies on this list, it is trying to take itself seriously, but it is a little hokey still. A fun adaptation with great zombie action as well. Coming in at number 7 would have to be Mortal Kombat 2021. Not the original Mortal Kombat film, but the reboot. This film has some good stuff in it, such as the gore, the visuals, and most of the characters, although not all. The problem with this movie, though, is the most interesting part of it is the very beginning with Scorpion, and he's more or less a background character in the movie. The character of Cole Young, which is Scorpion's descendant, is just not interesting, and the film focuses too much on characters you don't care about. However, the mainstays from the games are here, and they're great, and when they're on screen kicking ass, the film really is entertaining. It's a damn shame that the sequel to this has been pushed back to next year, but I am still looking forward to that film as well. And though this one does have its flaws, it's still a fun video game movie. Up next, we have the 2001 film Tomb Raider, starring Angelina Jolie, or more accurately, Lara Croft in Tomb Raider. This film basically encapsulates the music video inspired, action, cheesy, over the top, hard rock era that was the early 2000s. The film just screams that era, and it's a really fun adaptation of the video games. Not particularly super accurate, but it does take things from the first few games. And there's even nice little winks and nods to the original source material. There's one about Angelina Jolie. Some don't really care for her, but she's great as Lara Croft, and it's pretty much perfect casting. The film is loaded with great, cheesy, tongue-in-cheek action, extravagant visuals, and a few emotional scenes as well, including Jon Voight. This is also one of the first appearances of Daniel Craig in a major motion picture, and he's pretty good in the movie as well. A fun, if not a bit tongue-in-cheek adaptation of the games, and one that I very much enjoy. Up next, we have Sonic the Hedgehog. Released in 2020, right before the world went to shit, Sonic the Hedgehog is an accurate adaptation of the video games, and a great one that you could watch with your kids. The best thing about this movie has to be Jim Carrey, who plays Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman if you prefer, and he is just magnificent in the film. What's funny about this film is if you had made this 20 years earlier with the exact same cast, say James Marsden and Jim Carrey, it would have been pretty much the exact same movie. I really enjoy this film, and I think that it is a good adaptation of the games, even though it does take some liberties. And I like seeing Sonic in our world, and I like the action and fast-paced nature of this one. It's basically a road trip movie, and a fun one at that. I could have put the sequels on this list, but I decided to put the first one because I think it is the most entertaining of the three. Even though the sequels do amp up the action, the story and the heartfelt moments aren't really as hard hitting in those. A great first entry into the Sonic movie franchise, and one that I very much enjoy. Coming in at number 4 is the most serious movie on the list, and the most creepiest, and that would have to be Silent Hill. I'm a huge fan of the Silent Hill video games, and I think that this adaptation is pretty damn good. It's essentially a loose adaptation of the first Silent Hill game with a few elements from the sequel, such as Pyramid Head, who I feel is really misplaced in this movie. It shows this woman trying to find her daughter after they got separated in this town after wrecking their car, and it's basically the plot of the first game, just stretched over about an hour and 40 minutes. There are some grotesque visuals in the movie, a really creepy atmosphere. It looks a lot like the games. I don't think it's a great adaptation, but it is a damn good one. And as lackluster as the new film coming out looks, I think this will probably continue to be the best Silent Hill movie, unless the new one somehow surprises me. A great adaptation of a great horror franchise series, and if you love Silent Hill, you probably will at least enjoy this movie, even though it does have some flaws. Coming in at number 3 would have to be Super Mario Bros. 1993. This was the first video game movie ever released. Not the first movie that was about video games, but the first movie that was strictly based on a video game. It stars Bob Hoskins as Mario and John Leguizamo as Luigi, and the always beautiful Samantha Mathis as Princess Daisy, and of course, Dennis Hopper as King Koopa, although they never call him Bowser in the movie, but he's basically Bowser. This is not an accurate adaptation whatsoever, I can admit that, but it's one that I very much enjoy. I think that it is a fun 90s romp into this game that is really poorly adapted, but somehow that leads to a very unique and fun movie. It essentially is like a mixture of Blade Runner and, I don't know, the live action Dinosaurs TV show, maybe. It's a weird hodgepodge kind of movie, and I really love it. Is it a good adaptation? Hell no. But is it an entertaining adaptation? You bet your ass. And it's one of my favorite video game movies. Coming in at number 2 would have to be the Super Mario Bros. Movie, 2023. The second adaptation of the video game, only this time done in CGI that is very accurate to the video games. What I love about this one is they also incorporate other Nintendo franchises, such as Donkey Kong, and I think that's really great, and they're probably going to work towards like a crossover event at some point, maybe a Smash Brothers movie. I think that all the characters are great in here. I think Mario is done very well by Chris Pratt. Charlie Day does an amazing job as Luigi, and Jack Black kills it as Bowser. The film is fun. It has vibrant, beautiful colors, great animation, awesome action, really good pacing. I don't really love how they had Luigi get kidnapped instead of Princess Peach because it kind of breaks their tradition. Yes, he does get kidnapped sometimes in the games, but I kind of wanted a little bit more traditional story for a Mario movie. But to be fair, the princess did get captured in the first movie back in the 90s, although technically that was Princess Daisy and not Peach, but I digress. A very enjoyable adaptation that is much more accurate than the 90s film and is more entertaining than the 90s film, although not quite as unique as that film. But if you want an accurate adaptation of Mario on the big screen, you can't do any better than this, and it's an amazing video game movie. But coming in at number 1 would have to be 1995's Mortal Kombat. While this film is not rated R, and some gore really would have pushed it closer to the accuracy of the video games, everything else about the movie is so freaking spot on. From the magnificent sets to the great visual effects, yes, there are a few hokey ones like the CGI reptile, but most of them look great and are done in camera. Goro is an amazing animatronic. The fight scenes are very well done. All the actors give a great performance and look just like their video game counterparts, except maybe Raiden, but who doesn't love Christopher Lambert? It is a fantastic movie with some great action, great 90s feel, just the right amount of cheese, and it is my favorite video game adaptation of all time. It's not a perfect movie, and I can understand people putting it lower on their list personally, but it's the one that I get the most enjoyment out of, and a lot of that could be nostalgia, but I still really love this film. And I think it's the best video game adaptation that we've ever gotten. I really do hope that the new Mortal Kombat film coming out next year We'll try to replicate a lot of what this one does, just with more gore, but we'll see. The tournament is on next year, and there is a chance that it could overtake this movie, but I really doubt it. Well, that's my list. I thank you all for watching. This is a fun top 10 to do, and I really do think that there are some good video game movies on the horizon, and that this genre has only gotten better over the years. That's not to say that it's a perfect genre. There are a lot of duds, and trust me, there are way more duds than hits, but there are some good ones, and I think all the ones on this list are definitely worth watching. If you'd like, leave your list down below, or just tell me your favorite video game movie. And peace out.